Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Freddie, and today I'm super excited to share with you my top 5 favorite pens at the moment. Now let me preface this by saying I love all these pens equally. They just each have a different use case. I am by no means a fountain pen expert, but I've been very much obsessed with fountain pens for the past 3 months, so I think I learned a thing or two. Of course, these are just my personal opinions based on my experience, so if you disagree, that's totally cool. I'd love to hear your thoughts though in the comments. But now, let's dive in. First up is the Platinum Preppy Wamaki in Eggplant. I adore this pen. It's such a fun pen, and honestly, it feels just like holding one of my gel pens, which is probably why it has that familiar, comfortable feel for me. I got this in a fine nib, and let me tell you, it writes on everything. No paper type is too fancy or too basic for this one, which makes it a perfect EDC pen. And considering it's often labeled as a disposable pen, I actually have a hard time accepting that. It's so adorable and dependable, plus you can change the nib or swap inks easily. So it definitely doesn't feel like a throwaway pen to me. The best part about these pens are they're surprisingly inexpensive. Depending on the design, it can go between $7 to $13. Platinum has been making awesome fountain pens since forever, and they're widely known for their super precise nibs. So whether you're grabbing something budget-friendly, like a Platinum Preppy, or splurging on a gorgeous Urushi pen, they've got something for everyone. So no matter if you're new to fountain pens or a total pro, Platinum legit got you covered. Next up is the Kaweco Sport in Bordeaux. You can't really see it on camera that far, but up close you can see it's like dark red. I love this color. Now this one holds a very special place in my heart because it's one of my very first fountain pen. Actually, I think it is my first fountain pen. I got this 3 years ago, and I got this in a medium nib. I need to polish that. At that time, I wasn't as educated about nibs, so I just thought, hey, medium sounds good, so why not? But nowadays, I'm more of a fine or medium fine nib kind of person. Once in a while, I'll go for a medium, but more of that later. But this pen is incredibly smooth. They're actually known for that. I also love that it's so compact, right? If I hold it against the Preppy, you can see, and the Preppies are small, so you can just see for comparison. And it's made of plastic material, so it's perfect for travel. I actually have 2 other Kawecos. I only have 3. So that's the Bordeaux. This is the Toyama Teal. And this is the Cyan. Don't ask me why I got these 2 shades of blue. I purchased them in 2 separate occasions, and I guess I just wasn't thinking. Normally I would buy different colors, but you know, anyway, here we are. Speaking of which, I don't really have a set favorite when it comes to which pen I'll use. So when I say favorite, it really depends on the time of day, the weather, or how I'm feeling. I just let the pen speak to me, essentially. So earlier, I mentioned that I usually go for fine or medium fine nibs, but honestly, it really depends on where the nib comes from. With Japanese nibs, much like the Platinum Preppy here, they're so sharp and precise. I can actually use a medium nib on those, and maybe even a broad, and I would still love it. But when it comes to Western nibs, I only prefer fine nibs. I tried journaling using a medium nib, and it's just way too thick for a Midori or Hibino grid paper. It's much like using a 1.0 pen. That's probably an exaggeration, but I just don't know I don't know, I just don't find my writing legible. That being said, much like this Kaweco, I don't dislike using a medium-sized nib or even a broad nib, but I only use it for very specific writing. And I'll explain that more later on. This is something I've learned on my own fountain pen journey, and I know there are plenty of people out there who prefer medium or even broad nibs, regardless of their origin, and I totally respect that. I'm still pretty new to fountain pens, but I know I'll eventually get into more nib sizes. I'm all about trying new things, and growing my collection, so eventually. Now we have the Twsbi Eco and Caffé. Generally, you simply cannot go wrong with a Twsbi Eco. I think I can confidently say that most of the folks in the fountain pen community is in agreement that this is a dependable pen. Cheap and dependable. It's also one of those pens that just feels perfectly balanced no matter your hand size. I have medium-sized hands, and sometimes I do like it posted, and sometimes I like it unposted, but it just always feels right. I only ever get this pen in a fine nib though, because it's just so juicy. I do a lot of journaling in small grid notebooks, so I need something that doesn't flood the page. And as for my Eco collection, I do own 3 more. So that's the Cafe. I have the Heat. Let's line them up right there. I have the Cerulean Blue. And I also have the new one, my newest acquisition is the Irish Green with Onyx Nib. But I think moving forward, I will only go with the gold or rose gold nibs, like the Cafe and the Cerulean Blue, with the exception of the Onyx, of course, because it's a little special and unique. I mean, it really doesn't need to be a 14K or 21K nib. If it's pretty and it's a gold-plated nib, I really don't care. I just like the look. That's all. But the Eco or Eco T are definitely my go-to pens. The big barrel holds a ton of ink, so you don't have to consistently refill it, which is super convenient if you're writing a lot. The nib is incredibly smooth, and whether you go for fine or medium size, it just glides across the page. Plus, the overall size of the pen makes it comfortable to hold for long writing sessions. If you're looking for a solid, reliable, and beginner-friendly fountain pen, the Eco is definitely worth checking out. Now, let's talk luxury. And of course, that's purely subjective. For some people, they might consider this mid-range. But this is the Nahvalur 2024 Pride Edition. And I absolutely adore the design. This is pretty hefty, but it's so well made, nice weight and balance. I just love using this one. But here comes the confusing part. I actually got this in a medium nib, purposely. But, I'll explain more later. As for writing, it's smooth. It's a little picky with inks. Sailor inks, not a fan. I'm a fan of Sailor inks. This pen, not so much. I dealt with hard starts and skipping. It was super frustrating. But once I switched to diamine inks, it's been smooth sailing ever since. So this is a lesson learned for me. When I buy a pen, I usually look at the design, weight, and length first. Maybe next time I should pay more attention to reviews and how well they interact with different types of inks. But hey, like I said, it's lesson learned, right? I still love Nahvalurs. I will definitely try to acquire more in the future. So as far as I mentioned earlier, this does have a medium nib, and that was purely intentional. One, because I already own a Nahvalur in a fine nib, which is right here. This is my other Nahvalur. And I just want to switch things up. Nothing wrong with that, right? Second, I thought I can use this for my travel journaling when I don't necessarily follow any lines or grid to write. It's perfect for like annotating when you're junk journaling because it's so thick, I can write big and it stands out. So it's almost like an additional design in my collage. And finally, we have the Esterbrook Estie Botanical Gardens. This was my very first Esterbrook. And I remember falling in love with this the moment I saw it online. I mean, just look at that design. Isn't it pretty? I actually picked this one up at the San Francisco Pen Show. And after testing some nibs, I settled on the journaler nib. Obviously I can't. Maybe I could. It's such a unique nib grind. It's actually based on a medium nib, but gives you a variety of line widths just by changing the angle of your hand. So you can literally go from extra fine to broad in a single stroke. I'm definitely going to put the link on the description for more info on the pen and how the nib was beautifully made. But yeah, this is my Botanical Garden Esterbrook Estie. Now I'll admit, I haven't used this pen a ton because I like to switch up my rotation, but every time I take it out of my pen case, it makes me smile. I mean, how could you not? Sometimes embarrassingly, I just take it out of the pen case just to look at it. Weird, right? For me, it really embodies that Marie Kondo idea of, does it bring you joy? And for me, this pen definitely does. This is why I think Esterbrook pens are such a gem. Actually, a little bit of trivia, or fun trivia I just learned about Esterbrook is they're an American brand company with over 150 years of history. And it was actually founded in New Jersey, where I'm from. But now they're based in New York State. So you've got that blend of classic heritage with beautiful modern design. Another great thing about Esterbrook is that their pens are fairly priced. Again, that's subjective, but seriously, you're getting top-tier craftsmanship without breaking the bank. When it comes to writing, Esterbrook really nails the details, especially with their nibs. They're super smooth and offer an amazing writing experience. Their customer service is also top-notch in my book, and that's how I usually stay loyal to companies. So if you're looking for a pen that combines history, quality, and style, Esterbrook got you covered, and it's definitely worth adding to your collection. So there you have it. Those are my top 5 fountain pens at the moment. I would love to hear what pens you're loving right now, so drop a comment below. And if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to like and subscribe for more stationery content. Until next time, keep writing and keep creating. Bye!